Can't complain. I heard you talking about the documentary, man. That was a great experience.
Thank you, Doc. I mean, what'd you like about it, man?
You know, I just like the whole story, man. I just like the fact, and I was telling my wife this last night as we watched N.W.A. all the way through, not N.W.A., but Straight Outta Compton all the way through, probably for the first time in I don't know how many years. I just watched it all the way through just for the fun of it, and I was telling her how, you know, it's crazy that if your legacy was left up to that movie, it would be a 20-second legacy, man. And just the fact that you were able to share your story the way you did. And my wife even was like, she joined me on Friday. She was like, I didn't know he was involved with all of that stuff. She only, as a layman, knows you from Turn Off the Lights. You know what I mean? She doesn't understand the whole background. So I just think that was the great look, is people who don't know your story, now they get to see your whole story.
You know, and that's why I do. That's why I did the documentaries, man. I want to thank my team. First of all, I got to thank the money lady, Miss Noreen McClendon, because that whole story right there, man, is amazing within itself. Professor Conley, my boy Velo, Money Train. It's a whole team that came together, and thank you as well. Thank you as well that came together to help me put these things together. And I'm just a funny person, man. I've never been one to wait on somebody to give me something, whether it was a record deal, a movie deal, or whatever. I mean, it's hard to sell. It's hard to tell my story, especially when it gets overshadowed by the people that I discovered. But they're not just the ones that I discovered, as you very well, you and your wife know now. And some of the folks might not be as popular, but they all have their own significance in their times and periods. Like Afroman. Afroman blew up. Afroman sold half his publishing, like $1 million. Left California, moved down to Mississippi, and bought him a farm. We got a bunch of green Cadillacs and green clothes and weed clothes. And he's from down south. So I think he moved to Cleveland, Ohio. Also, he might have a pad in Cleveland, Ohio. But he's been in the news quite a bit because the cops ran up on him a couple of times because he represents the weed world. And again, he had a phenomenal hit back in the day, and he still rocks to the son of a gun. In fact, I remember I was watching Lethal Weapon, the television show, and I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, the son, Damian Wayne's son from the show, sitting in the pool, and first thing I hear is, I got high, I got high. And I'm like, damn, I know what that represents, Doc. I know what that represents. So to have D. Barnes, DOC, Poetess, all these folks were around before anybody had any money. And that's the part people forget. Once you got money, everybody know you. Once you got money, you become the topic of everybody's conversation. But when you are up and coming, or sometimes you just don't make it to the next level, people forget about you. But that's not how history goes. You got people in your family that played one particular part in somebody's life that sent them to another level. They didn't go to the next level, but they did. Somebody else did, and that needs to be recognized as well. Because if somebody don't look out for you, you might not get where you're going.
Yeah, that's facts, man. Man, we got a lot to talk about. We may have a special guest coming in later. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, so hang in there. Make sure you guys.
I know him. He might not show up, but he was mad last night, though. Go ahead.
It's all good, man. But shout out to the chat. Before you guys get all comfortable, make sure you hit that like button. Just smash it for us. Let the algorithm know that we exist. And before we even start, I want to give a couple quick shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Antonio at Selfish Society for hooking me up with this hat at Lonzo's documentary premiere at Compton College. And I also want to give a special shout out to Craig Schweischinger. Man, I practiced saying that all night. For this shirt that he hooked me up with, this is the original flyer for an Eazy E and N.W.A. concert back at Skateland USA. He is the owner of Skateland, and he's online right there, then and there, man. Thank you so much, Craig. Appreciate it. Hit up Craig on Facebook if you guys want one of those hats or shirts, or hit me up, and I'll definitely connect you, because I got 5 comments that night, Lonzo. As soon as I walked in, that this is our crowd, man. So they were like, "Yo, where'd you get that shirt? Let me check that in. Can I get one?" So Craig Schweischinger is the man to get them from Skateland USA, the owner, and these are dope, man. They fit nice. So I just wanted to give that shout out real quick before we get started. Shout out Craig, man, the craziest white dude in Compton. Let's talk about the documentary, Lonzo. I took a few notes, man, and I would love to, you elaborate on a few things. I obviously have heard the story. Some of them haven't been told in a long time, so let's go ahead and just talk about them, man. One of the funnier stories, and you had everybody laughing, man. You're a great storyteller. But let's talk about going back to sending Yella to snatch down posters. Can you break that whole thing down?
Well, back in the day, man, and Craig can tell you this. Probably one of the biggest offenses you can do to a promoter is snatch down his posters. I mean, posters were expensive back then. They're like 75 cents a piece. You had to go out there and hang them up. So by the time you buy them, hang them up, buy nails, pay a crew to go put them out there, man, you know, you could be for 200 posters, it might cost you $400, $500 to get them put up. That you know, even back then it was not cheap. And for somebody to come up behind you and snatch them down and throw them on the ground or throw them in the trash can, dude, that was a major offense. And although I didn't have very many problems with regular promoters, you got a bunch of new guys who don't know nobody come in, try to be like little gunslingers. Oh, we're going to disrespect the big boys. Okay, fine. Yella was introduced to me by a buddy of mine named Phil Luke, who was another DJ. And I put a bounty on everything out there. 25 cents, might put 25 cents a poster, 50 cents. I forgot what it was. That was a long time ago. And Yella came back with babysitting flyers and missing dogs and house for rent. I'm like, damn, I just wanted the promoter flyers. He said, oh, a trunk full of flyers, posters. And because it was his first time doing business with me, I didn't want to take advantage of it. So I went on and paid him all of them. And shortly after that, he ended up being one of my main DJs because by that time, I was more in executive mode. I'm watching security guards, counting my money. I'm still DJing from time to time, but Dr. Rocket kind of filled my slot in the main slot from 12 to 2, and I gave it to Yella. And you know, because Unknown was working the bar, and he came in and he worked it okay for a while, and every once in a while he got stuck. And it's like for me, I look at that as being like a relief pitcher. Sometimes DJs get stuck. I tap him on the shoulder. I got it because no matter what corner he paints himself into, I know how to get him out. So it's ways to get him out, and everybody don't know that. So anyway, that's how he joined the crew, man. That was his initiation to the crew.
You did say in the past a couple times, I remember you saying that he was one of the bigger hustlers in the crew. He was one that got stuff done. If he said something, he was going to get it done, right?
Yeah. Yella, I'd give Yella my truck, a whole truck full of equipment, a van full of equipment, and he'd go out there and do a gig, bring it, take his cut. I get my money, and everybody was happy. I mean, when it came to hanging posters, I paid a fee for hanging posters. I paid for this. I paid for that. I paid for passing out flyers. So, I had a rate for everything. Flyers was one rate, posters was another, and I'd pay for all the gas, whatever the case may be. So by the time they got through, if you had a car, you can make yourself a couple $100 a week just hanging posters. And he would love the Saturday night because Saturday night coming around, Saturday night was pay night. So Yella would get paid for DJing Friday and Saturday, hanging posters, passing out flyers. He would get, his envelopes would be nice and thick. A lot of cats' envelopes would be kind of shitty, but he was a hustler. And I respected that.